Good morning, everybody. Orange J here with another Echoes of Mana video, and today I'm going to be testing out AI and AI settings for Echoes of Mana to see which settings you should run on different types of units in this game. Keep in mind the development team has already worked on healer AI. I hear that it's working a lot better. Personally, I don't use healers in this game yet, so I'm going to be testing it out on 3 other types of units. A mage, and in fact I picked Angela here because she is the meme for AI in this game, so she'll be the mage that I'm testing. I'll also be testing on a tank. The tank, I don't think there really is English. I don't really think there are tanks in this game yet because there's aggro is what it is, but a sword user with like defense, break, and high survivability stats, and a physical damage dealer in Reese. Now, something about every one of these characters. They all have a special technique that is a damage dealing special technique. Each one of them has a damage dealing skill and a self buff. So they're all 3 the same in that way. So when we're testing out the AI, we can see what it does based on which settings. Now, if you didn't know about changing AI settings, there's this strategy button right here, and some of them are pretty self-explanatory, and some of them have taken some trial and error. First of all, the target button works how it says. This is easy. Do you want to target the closest enemy? Same thing as you, the boss, whatever. Just pick what you want here. This one's not that hard to understand. The tactics one, this is the big brain one, or at least in theory, the big brain one. It's the one that is supposed to modify the brain of the AI, or how the AI functions the most, and it really does. So a lot of this video will be focused on balanced, damage dealer, support, healer, etc. Special techniques works how it says it does. Do you want them to use it? Do you not want them to? And the AI is fairly consistent about using special techniques sometimes. They do not use it on cooldown. I kind of wish they did just use a special technique on cooldown. It would make planning things a little easier, but they will use it if you have it on, no matter what other settings you have. Skills. I have use on for every one of the tests in this. Pretty self-explanatory though. Do you want them to use skills? Do you not want them to? If above 50% MP, pretty straightforward right there. And then switch playable ally. I've just always had switch on. I've never seen them switch. It is what it is. So let's focus on this tactics one. Now, for the first test you're about to see, we're going to start on damage dealer. When I was doing these tests and recording these videos, I was operating under the assumption that damage dealer was the one I would want to use the most. I just figured like, look, I want to come out here, I want to kill mobs as fast as possible for farming, I want to burn down bosses, especially if I'm not using a healer. Let's get in there and let's kill stuff. And it turns out that was kind of wrong. Like, you're watching the damage dealing AI on the screen right now, and I tested it against both like trash mobs in a very hard mission and against bosses. And what I found from the damage dealer set is that like it really just likes to use auto attacks, and it likes to use auto attacks even more than the balanced button does, even though the skills will do more damage than just auto attacking. So every character would use a special technique in this case. You can get them to use damaging skills like, Duran's armor break, Reese's multi-hit attack, stuff like that, Angela's ice ball, so they will use them. But I actually found that they use them less on aggressive or the damage dealer AI than they did on balanced. Also buffs. Not a single unit buffed when they were on the damage dealer AI build. So damage dealer was a lot of auto attacking, whether it was in trash mobs or against bosses. No buffs and an occasional use of a damage dealing skill. A skill. I'm from Mississippi in the 1800s, and that's called a skill right there. Anyway, let's go to balanced next. So balanced ended up being the most interesting one of the 4 to me. You got auto attacks because the AI is going to auto attack. We all know Angela's going to run up there and hit things with her staff, but you also got a lot more damage skill use in the tests that I did, and they would use their buffs. Now again, consistency was a problem. I would have really liked it if the AI would start a fight off by buffing, especially since in most fights, the mobs do not immediately aggro the group. They kind of stand back and wait for you to make the first move. The AI could take advantage of that and cast their buffs on themselves and then go engage. That would be huge. So it was a little bit inconsistent, but the AI did start using their single buffs. So that's more strength for Angela, con for Duran, strength for Reese, int for Angela, con for Duran. You guys know what I'm saying. Actually, 17 people will comment about how I messed that up. But anyway, the big difference here, more skill uses, and they buff. And I actually found that balanced was the higher damage dealing it's set, even higher than damage dealer. Damage dealer just too much auto attacking for my taste. Okay, next up, the support AI. Now this is one I was really curious about, especially considering Duran, because Duran, when I was grading him, I gave him very high marks for support. I think his armor breaking skill is a fantastic support skill, even if it's not traditional, right? When people think of supports, a lot of time they think of buffing their group or healing their group, but debuffing the enemy is a really important part of supporting. Here's the thing with the support AI for these three characters. They will still use their special technique because I toggled that on. None of them would use a damaging skill. No damage skills came out, but they would all buff themselves. So you do get the con buff for Duran, the strength buff for Reese, the imp buff for Angela, and then you get a whole bunch of auto attacks mixing in special techniques, when the AI would charge up the bar and get it ready. So support was not good on any of these characters in my opinion. I was really hoping it would be good on Duran. I was hoping he would both buff himself, do a lot of auto attacks, and then try to keep like a boss or something armor broken. Couldn't get him to use it with support on. Then we have the healer option of the four. And this was the worst one for all three of these, as it should have been, by the way, because neither of these three units are healers. But when fighting stuff under healer, the only thing any of the units would do is use their special technique, because special technique clearly just operates outside of the tactics options. It's its own thing. If you have it toggled on, they'll use it. If you don't have it toggled on, they won't use it. Something I would like to see added to the game for the Mega Summon magic, I would like that to also be toggleable on and off. That's a massive skill. It is the hardest hitting skill in your kit that I've seen. Like, I've not seen a move hit harder than the MSM, what is this, MSM Messenger? I don't know. Than the MSM Summon, but the AI won't use it. So I would like to see that be able to be toggled on, but we're talking about healer AI right now. All they'll use is special technique, nothing else. It's just like they run out there, they start auto attacking, and I'm going to throw a bit of a graphic on the screen here that looks at mana levels after each fight. So this is the mana level after the very hard fight that you've seen each of these units do. And if you look at the aggro one, the damage dealing one, note Duran actually used no mana on this one. Again, all just auto attacking, lots and lots of auto attacking. Reese used one skill, she's at 277. Angela cast a few spells and used her special technique. If you look at the balance, you can see that Reese did buff herself and spend a little bit more mana. Angela spent significantly more mana, and Duran really buffed himself and was using his armor break. So that helped balance his damage a lot, that they were willing to use their skills. If you look at support, you'll see very little mana uses across the board. That is just the units buffing themselves, casting their buff, auto-attacking using special techniques. And then if you look at the healer AI, note Angela is dead because, Angela, and everybody's full mana. No one used any mana in that fight at all, because apparently under healer AI, all they'll do is heal and special technique if you have that turned on. So I thought those were pretty interesting findings, and my conclusion, if I'm going to make one, is I'm going to run my DPS units and my tanks on the balanced AI setting right now. Maybe you would have a different thought. Like, if you've tested this as well, I would be very curious to hear what your test results are like. It is very hard. Like, the current state of the game makes it hard to run like 100 tests or something like that. Nobody has that kind of stamina. I ran multiple tests on very hard and boss fights, and I showed you clips of that, while I was talking here in the background, and these were my outcomes. Balanced did seem to be the best one for me. That's what I'm going to stick with for now on these three characters. More testing needs to be done, obviously. I would be curious to hear about if you've tested with other physical DPS units, other mages, because Popoi, I think one of the reasons a lot of people think Popoi is a god of DPS is how much the AI likes to auto attack. That was the most clear on the aggro build. Popoi will just boomerangs for days. I can see where that would be good for them. And there we go. Okay, that's the results of my test, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and subscribe to the channel. And yeah, let me know what your tests have been like if you've run tests, or if this was useful for you or whatever. And have a great rest of your day, everybody. I'll catch you next time. Peace.